before we do operating costs, on page 86, there's a vehicle finance test review already. I'm going to post a key already after we're done today. So if you want to get started, it's basically an old quiz, maybe a little longer than a quiz, right? So if you want to start reviewing on page 86, that's where I'm going to lead you after I'm done with my little section here. So 86 is for you, 68, 86. Okay? So we're gonna go to 68 and just talk about some operating costs. What are operating costs? Some of you probably know what it takes to run a vehicle. Some of you might just drive the vehicles but haven't really thought about maintenance yet. And it's kind of annoying because it adds up, right? Like owning a vehicle is not cheap, right? If you want to keep it up, if you want it to last a long time, 68, yeah. So every couple of months, or when you drive a few thousand kilometers, you for sure need to get an oil change, right? That is guaranteed. You got to get that done on a regular basis. And some of you might be like, well, I've never changed it and I'm still driving and it's fine. But under the hood, you're damaging your engine, right? Like if you're not changing that oil on a regular basis, that oil becomes very, like it doesn't do its job anymore. So all the moving parts are gonna wear out more and you're gonna start having issues down the road, okay? So you need to make sure the oil gets changed on a regular basis. So when we go to, these are a list of operating costs that I'm mentioning. There are many more, but the oil change right here, circle that, and the oil filter, that should be changed at the same time. I should have had them together. Page 68, okay? So every 5,000 kilometers or 3 months, to be honest, I would just say, just do it every 3 months. Don't go by kilometers. I have on my phone, I just put a reminder. If I change the oil myself, right? So every 3 months, I just have a reminder. And I just keep an eye on sales, like Canadian Tire or whatever, 40% off, 50% off. You just go buy it. Buy the best you can possibly get, right? It's gonna benefit you in the long run. Let me just see here. I kind of thought of a few more things earlier. Oh yeah. So let's go through the list back here. Brake inspections, okay? So you either get a mechanic to do this, or if you want to just look at them yourself, that's very important. So in particular, I'm going to tell you to check brake. No, I'm misspelling it here. Brake, not spring brake kind of brake, the other brake. Sorry. Brake pads. And I'm going to try my best here, guys, but if you ever take your tires off, and by the way, my own theory is that you should only be able to drive a car if you change the tire yourself at one point. So that should be the first thing somebody should teach you. Like flat tire, let's swap it, right? Let's learn how to do that, because a lot of students, or myself included, it's like you don't think of it until that time. But anyways, if you take off the tire, these are like the bolts that stick out. That's where you kind of put the nuts on to put the tire on. You'll see like a shiny rotor. We call that a brake rotor. And on this rotor, you can't see them right away, but there are actually pads. There's ceramic pads, right, on both sides of that rotor. And those pads, it's literally like your bicycle, those little rubber thingies that when you press the brakes, it pushes against the rim. Kind of the same idea. These pads are being pressed against that moving rotor. And every time you do that, the thickness of this pad wears down. It happens slowly over time. but you need to make sure you check those on a regular basis. Sometimes these also seize. Okay, what does seize? Check brake pads. I will say this: check for seized rotors. Okay, what does that mean? Seized? Well, if you lift the car up and you can barely move the tire, like it's like you can barely move it or you can't move it at all, these pads, if something is wrong with the whole mechanism, like it's just locked in, and it's almost like you're riding your bike and somebody's pushing the brakes the whole time. You're overheating that. It's gonna give you issues, right? So you got to make sure that you're able to freely rotate the tires when you lift the car off the ground. Okay. If it's not you, get your mechanic to do that. Okay. They should check that. And I'm probably giving you more information that some of you want to know. But if you ever drive for a while, touch the rim of your tire. Go around the car. Be careful, because if it seizes, it's going to be super hot. So just tap the rim. If you can't touch the rim, something is wrong. The rim you should be able to touch it, no problem. But if it's seized, if this is seized, it heats up the whole tire, the rim, everything. If you smell something, sometimes you will smell it. It happened to me, by the way. It's like, what does that smell? It smells kind of like burnt. And sure enough, one of the rims, I touched it and it was hot, like super hot. So you gotta watch out for that. So I'm just giving you some hints here. Oil change, just do it. If you do it yourself, YouTube it. Everything is out there these days. Tire rotation. Let's make an arrow to this area here. Tire rotation. Anybody know what a tire rotation is? If you do that on your car, so you imagine this is a bird's eye view of your car, and we're just looking at the tires. Curious to see. I feel like somebody will know in this room. When you say like rotating your tires, you should rotate your tires once a year. What does that mean? Nobody? That's okay. I have a feeling somebody knows, just don't want to say it, right? Anyways, if you have a car, this is the front, this is the front, and this is the rear. If you have a car that has front wheel drive, these tires are more likely to wear out sooner than the rear tires. Would you agree with that? If you have a rear wheel drive car, these will wear out sooner than the front wheel, right? That's number one. The second reason is that sometimes the alignment of these tires, even if it's slightly off, and you keep on driving and you're always fighting it, you want to go straight, but the car is going to want to go this way, you're going to wear out a little bit more on the edge here than the center, stuff like that. So what you want to do is, in general, once a year, take the front tires, just make an arrow like that. You take the front tires and you cross them like this. You put them on the rear, but you cross them. The front right becomes the rear left. So you take it, swap them, and then you take the tires that used to be in the back, take them to the front. You do this every year. Every year you do that. And it prevents, right? Prevents uneven tire wear. Okay? That's what it does. That's the main goal of that. Yearly, I'll say that yearly. It says here every 10,000 kilometers, which is what an average person drives. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but I would just do it every year. Every spring I do that. Okay. Some of you might be like, well, what about winter tires? Like I swap to winter tires and then back to all seasons. You're probably going to be rotating them. And I have like a marker and I mark it on the inside of the tire, so I always know where it was the last time. Okay. So right? Because if only two tires keep on wearing down, you're going to need to buy new tires. But if you keep doing this, you're actually probably doubling the life of your tires in total, right? You're doubling by doing that. So keep that in mind. Fuel filter replacement, this is just as needed, to be honest. Don't mess with the fuel filter. But sometimes if you get bad gas from like shady gas stations that have maybe water or debris in their tanks, you might have to, that might clog up so your car won't start. Coolant flush. What is coolant flush, you may ask? If you look at the grill of your car, almost all cars without exception will have like a rectangular grid, and it has lots of very, very thin aluminum fins, and air goes through it. Like as you drive, air blows through it and it cools off the it's basically a mixture of water and coolant, right? So the hot water that just ran through the whole engine and collected the heat will kind of run through the fins like this and come out the bottom cold. I should say colder, right? So this is what we call a radiator. If you have a front end collision, usually you'll see all like green or yellow or orange liquid on the ground, and that's because this is the first thing that usually gets smashed, right? Your radiator. And so if that doesn't work, it overheats your engine and that becomes a problem. So flush out old coolant and then replace and replace. This has to be done, look at that, 80,000 to 100,000 kilometers. So every 8 to 10 years. Okay, every 8 to 10 years. And if you don't, you might be fine, but if there's a lot of corrosion inside, it will clog up the system and cause issues. Your engine will overheat. Okay. This is probably a good one to just go to Great Canadian Oil Change or Mr. Lube or something. They will do that for you. They have all the equipment for that. They'll flush out the old and put new stuff in there. I think I'm almost done. Rust proofing. I'll make an arrow going like this. Okay. Rust proof. Right. Shops will spray a grease-like film. Can you see that? Sorry guys, I'm gonna zoom into that. Shops will spray a grease-like film on the frame and body parts to prevent rust from occurring, right? So rust proofing. I'm trying to think of the company that I called once, but you just Google rust proofing Winnipeg, and these shops have like machines with little hoses, and they go into every nick and cranny of your car, and they spray that on the inside of like the door panels. They can go when you open the door, there's little holes. They go in there and they spray everything with that grease-like film, and it prevents rust from forming. Mechanics hate it because if a mechanic has to work on your car and they have this all over the place, they get all greasy, right? But it sure prevents rust from building. So it costs a lot of money, $400 to $500, but maybe you only do it every couple of years, right? And it'll last you a long time. A couple more things. New cars have a cabin filter. Cabin filter. These are new cars that have that. So there's a filter that filters the air coming into your car. And some people don't know about it, but you should replace it once a year for sure. It's going to be super filthy if you don't do that. And it's usually behind the glove box, right? So if you open it and you prop it all the way open, it's going to be behind there somewhere, but just Google it or YouTube it and you'll find it. Battery replacement, you might have to replace your battery after a couple of years, especially when it's super cold. You'll notice that your battery might die. Air filter replacement, wiper replacement. You can also add windshield wiper fluid if you want to add that. That's all under operating costs. Wind, shield, wiper, fluid. Yeah. This is on 68. Oh. Windshield wiper fluid. All those things, if I ask you, hey, give me 2 examples of operating costs, just give some good ones, right? I will probably say other than fuel and car washes, what else should be done, right? Things like that. I think I have one more. Oh yeah, air filter. Your engine, let's go back to the basics, right? Your engine runs by mixing fuel and air, right? It mixes it to an exact measure. It's all computerized. So it draws air. So your engine has an air filter that needs to be replaced on a regular basis. It will improve fuel economy, okay? So from air filter, I'm going to go like this. Replace yearly to improve fuel economy. Sorry, it's a little messy, I know, because I'm going off on tangents here. But that air filter, a lot of people don't know about it. If the engine can't draw air, it's not going to, the mixture might be affected and it will affect your fuel economy. So sometimes you notice an immediate improvement when you change it. So just do it. And I'm a Canadian Tire guy. So if you go to Canadian Tire, the oil filters, all that, they have those little screens nowadays. You type in your make and model, all of that, and it will just tell you which one it is, right? You just grab your filter and off you go. Okay. Same with oil filters. That's all.